Hi, welcome to my second lesson on making French beaded flowers. In this lesson we're going to learn how to use your new bead spinner, and I'll also teach you the first of the 4 basic techniques for making French beaded flowers. And the first one is called the basic frame. So this is the bead spinner that I have here, and this is a pretty good quality one. So you can see they come in 2 pieces, and the better ones are made out of wood, but there's also some that you can get out of plastic. I just wanted one that was a little nicer, so I got this. But the first thing you do obviously is you fill it with beads. So I'd say probably about 3/4 of the way full if you can. It just makes it easier to string the beads on quicker. And then you take your paddle wire and straighten it out. You want to make sure that the end especially doesn't have any kinks in it. And then you want to try and get a little bit of a curve to it, not too much. Then the way that you string the beads on is you put the tip of the wire sort of more at an angle into the beads, and you want it to graze the top. You don't want to stick it right down in, but you want it to kind of graze the top. And then you start spinning. And they'll start to go fairly quickly. Don't worry if you can't get the technique right just at first. It takes some practice. And for this pattern, we're going to want to string approximately 3 feet of beads before we start making our flower. So I'll get that finished, and then I'll show you how to make the basic frame. So now that I have my beads strung, I'm going to start on the basic frame. As you can see, I don't have 3 feet of beads on here, but that's because I've already made a few of the petals, so this is just enough for 1 petal. So the first thing that you have to do is, of course, tie off the end. So I just loop it around with my finger and make sure that there's nothing that's going to get off of there. And I need to get some more wire from the spool. Alright, so this pattern is a 1/2 inch basic frame. And what that means is that I need to start with 1/2 inch for the middle of the petal. This is what a finished petal looks like, just to compare. The middle part is always what the basic frame is, and this one calls for 1/2 inch, so we'll bring up about 1/2 inch. Usually I measure more precisely, but I don't have my ruler right here, so I'm going to use this. A couple more beads. It's definitely better to measure precisely. And then I hold it below the basic frame, and I want to make sure that I have enough space above here to work around in a circle and make the petal. And then I leave a bit of a stem and pinch at the bottom with my right hand. Then you bring your hands together and make sure that you have a good grip here and do a twist. You want to twist several times. Usually I leave about a 1/2 inch of twisted wire at the bottom. And then you have to make sure that this is all nice and straight again. There we go. So this is the construction of the basic frame. We have the spool wire coming off from the left here, and it's still attached to the spool. Our loop at the bottom, and our middle row. And we always work around this middle row. Now, my pattern calls for a round bottom and a pointed top for the petal. So you can see here. And the way that we get that is by wrapping it at different angles. So to get a round edge, we wrap it at a 90-degree angle, and to get the pointed, you wrap it at a 45-degree angle. It may not make sense to begin with, but trust me, it works out in the end. So I bring my beads in, and I pull them up beside the middle row. I started at a 90-degree angle, and at the top I'm going to wrap it at a 45-degree angle. So I just want enough beads along the side so that it lays flat against the next row. I don't want too many. That's one too many, I think. See? And then you always go from the front to the back, around to the front again. So I wrap it to the back at a 45 and then back down. And that's my second row. And then I find it easier to turn my work around, so the wire I'm working with is always to the left of me. And I bring more beads up. Again, get it nice and tight to the row that you're working against. And make sure that you don't have too many or too few beads, otherwise it won't sit very nicely. And then this time, we wrap it at a 45-degree angle. Sorry, a 90-degree angle. To the back, and then to the front again. We keep working around that, and you'll want to make that 11 rows. You count the rows all the way across. So right now there's 3. So we want 11, and I'll just finish that up now quickly. So I know I said 11 rows, but what I actually meant to say was 9. So that's a complete petal there. And the way you finish it off is you wrap around 3 more times at the bottom. There's our petal, and now we have to cut it off of the basic frame. So my pattern says that I need to reduce it to 1 wire. Basically what that means is that I need to have the stem only have 1 wire at the end. If I wanted to have 3, I would cut it here and here. If I wanted 2, I would cut it here and then here. But for 1, I'll cut it here, off of the spool wire, and then at the edge here, and straighten it out. So now I'm left with 1 wire at the bottom. At the top, I want to leave about 1/4 of an inch or so, and fold that towards the back. And that's it. That's my first petal with the basic frame. So that's it for learning how to make the basic frame. For the next lesson, I'll teach you how to put the whole flower together. So what you're going to need for the next lesson is to make the last 4 of these petals, so you'll need 5 in total. So that's a 1/2 inch basic frame with 9 rows, with the round bottom and pointed top. And then you'll need to make 1 leaf. So the leaf is the same as the petals, 1/2 inch basic, round bottom, pointed top, but you'll need 11 rows. And that's where I got confused in the last tape. So have those pieces ready to go for the next lesson, and make sure that you have the center color that you'll want for your flower ready for the next lesson, and all of the assembly pieces, so the stem wire and your assembly wire and the tape. And then we'll put everything together, and I'll teach you at the end of the lesson a little bit about how to read the pattern. Alright, until next time.